You're listening to The Rich Life Revolution with me, Michelle Cooper. My mission is to empower you to step into your next level of wealthy. You'll hear all the deets, a little bit of inspiration, and real life takeaways so that you can create your own rich life revolution. Let's dig in. Welcome to the Rich Life Revolution. I'm your host, Michelle Cooper, and let me ask you a question. What if you could throw yourself a retirement party at the tender age of 34? What if you could build a 7-figure net worth before the age of 40 without grinding away at a soul-sucking job? Today's guest, Jenni Schulz, did exactly that. She walked away from the 9-to-5, mastered the art of house hacking real estate, and rewired her money mindset to create a life she actually loves, not one that she just tolerates. In today's episode, we're diving into how Jenni escaped the traditional career path and built financial freedom for herself and her family, the house hacking strategy that changed everything for her, why making money doesn't have to be hard, how to design a life-first business or career, and the biggest mindset shifts that will help you go from stuck to thriving. If you've ever felt like there's more to life than working for someone else's dreams, grab your notebook because Jenni is dropping gold. Let's dive in. Hey, Jenni, welcome to the Rich Life Revolution.
Thanks, Michelle. I'm pumped to be here with you.
I'm so excited. We were off recording. We were talking about our dogs and the chaos that they bring into our lives. So yeah, I heard my dog just start barking. So in case anybody hears that, I'm sorry. It's just life.
Yes.
But let's dive into this episode. I'm super excited about this conversation. You're doing something that many of our listeners I know want to do and are inspired by. And so before we jump into that, I'm going to ask you a question that I ask everyone, which is, or invite you, not really a question, invite you to brag about yourself a little.
Ooh, that's not something we comfortably do as women too often, do we?
I know. That's why I ask you to do it.
Yeah. Brag about myself. Well, I am Jenni Schulz. I would like to say that I ditched the 9-to-5 grind back in my 30s, threw myself a retirement party at the age of 34, and then went on to grow a 7-figure net worth before I turned 40. And then I had babies in there too. So I kind of do things backwards. I do things my way. But honestly, at the end of the day, I think our way is the only way.
Yeah, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And such a young age, like seriously epic, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you threw yourself into retirement, but also a retirement party at just 34 years old, right? Like that's iconic. That is amazing. Can you take us back to that moment and what led you to the decision to ditch that 9-to-5 grind? And what was the first big step you took towards that financial freedom?
Yeah, definitely. So I always like to joke that I was a formal people pleaser because I went to school, I did all the right things, I studied really hard, I got good grades, I graduated, I went out and got a job. Then I found a job that was like really secure with a pension because that was like the golden ticket. And then I was just supposed to ride it out till retirement. And I hated it. Like I really it felt just like soul crushing to show up at this job. And it wasn't terrible, but I was building somebody else's dream. I had to ask for time off. I had to trade 5 days a week to get my 2 days off. I had to show up on somebody else's schedule. I had their income ceiling that I was working towards, like all of these limiters on my life. And maybe if the job would have been more fulfilling to me as a human, I would have stuck it out longer, but I really didn't like it. It wasn't soul-filling work for me. I was paper pushing in an office without a window. It was just not fun. So I was like, if I'm supposed to do this for the next 30, 40 years,
Oh,
exactly that exact feeling every day walking into that building. I'm like, no, there has to be a different way. There has to be something else I can do. So first I started thinking, you go down the rabbit hole of, oh, maybe I'll just go get another job. But then I realized I'm still checking the box of showing up for somebody else, working on somebody else's schedule, their pay structure, it was still catering to somebody else. So I was like, well, what else is there? So that is when I started saying to other people, I'm really dissatisfied where I'm at. I'm looking for other options because I know I can't sign myself up to do this. So 2 separate people gifted me 2 different books. And these 2 books I still to this day have changed my whole life trajectory. And that was Jack Canfield's book, The Success Principles.
mhm.
That book just asked little questions like, what do you want to be, do, have? Like, it was just really giving me that control back of, oh, wait a second, this is my life. For some reason, we think that we have to go out and get the job and then our life just like fills in the pieces after. What if I went about this deciding what I really wanted forefront and then figure out the income streams that fit kind of the gaps around that? So the Jack Canfield book, and then the other book I was gifted was Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. So that book made me get the mindset of, oh, you don't have to work for somebody else. You don't have to always be trading your time for dollars. You can either create your own business or invest in assets that are cash producing so they pay you back. And that is where I ended up going down the rabbit hole of house hacking real estate. So that making that decision, I would say, was the pivotal moment for me deciding, oh, wait a second, there's a different way to make money. And I'm going to try going this route.
I love that. I have the cash flow game that Robert Kiyosaki made. Have you ever played that?
I have it too.
I love it. It's
Yeah.
like the funnest thing. In my business, in my core business, we have an annual retreat and I always bring it. And like I partner people up so they're working as a team.
Nice.
And often they like somebody has maybe a high risk threshold and somebody has a low risk. And then it's fun to see how they navigate the opportunities that come up in the game, right? Like,
yeah.
I love that game.
Me too. Anybody that has the opportunity to play that game should.
The
conversations that spark from that game are so expansive.
They are. And I think it makes you think about stuff, right? Like it makes you think about what you're doing with your own money and your own life and how like, you know, when you're stuck in that first little circle, right? You can't get out. You're in the rat race, I think he calls it, right?
Yeah.
And it's like the whole point is to get out of that, right? Where you're not trading the time for dollars kind of thing, right? So yeah, I love that. Anybody who hasn't seen that game or played it, I highly recommend it, and really good even for kids.
Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I love that. I am not yet a real estate. I don't have a real estate empire, but I do. I think this is a really interesting idea and concept. One of your key strategies for building a 7-figure net worth was house hacking, right? Like you said. And I think a lot of people hear that term, but they don't really understand how to make it work for them. Can you break that down a little bit for us?
Yeah, definitely. And it's so funny. When I made this decision to start house hacking, I was working at that soul-sucking job, going home at the end of the day, really feeling like, ugh, like I have no energy left to do anything. Then I got this spark of, wait a second, this is my life. I get to take control of it. So we started house hacking real estate after hours. Well, my hubby and I still held our jobs. And house hacking is essentially we were buying a double unit house. So it could be like an up-down duplex, side-by-side duplex, up-down suited house type thing. So we're living in one unit and renting out the other unit. So when
Right.
you can do it the first time, essentially your goal is to cover all your living costs. So you buy the house, you're paying the mortgage, but essentially that other unit in your house is paying the mortgage for you. So if
Right.
you can, and I know we don't always like to be uncomfortable as humans, we kind of, as you upscale in life, you kind of just want to keep going bigger and better, right? But if you can live, especially in the smaller unit of the place, so the bigger costs are getting covered by the other unit. And then ideally what we did was repeat the pattern. So then we were able to keep that house, save up money for a down payment, buy a second house that we moved into as our principal residence. We were able to keep that first house with the 2 units that are now both rented out, buy a new 2-unit house, living in one, renting out the 3rd unit. So and it's not like we have this big crazy empire. Our goal was always 5 properties. So we have 5 properties. Between them, we have 7 suites. So 7 sets of tenants that we take care of every month. I don't say take care of. We have a good relationship with our tenant. If something needs our repair or attention, we take care of it. Otherwise, we let them live our lives, and we have really nice caliber of tenants in there. But that's essentially house hacking. So you're slowly, just piece by piece, building up real estate over time.
That's awesome. And can you do that even if you don't have a ton of money saved up?
Yes, especially if you are a first-time home buyer, you do. So if instead of going out on your first-time home owner purchase and buying that dream home that you always want, that house that likely is going to have the mortgage that is just even stretched too big for you to go out and have fun, if you can be more simplified and think, I'm going to buy this with the intention that it 100% is my house, that I'm going to live in it, but it has that second suite, then you can use typically like a 5% down payment. And I'm not going to lie, in this day and age, I do think interest rates are higher now, right? They are constantly changing the rules. People might have to start getting more creative, and that might start looking like more of a generational type where a parent gifts a child even part of their future inheritance to help them get set up in something like that. That could be a game changer there too. So down payments in this inflationary world where even the cost of groceries costs more, right? Like our dollars for what we're spending on day to day are kind of evaporating what could be going to savings. So in any big picture monetary world, you're trying to make more than you spend, so you have that little middle pocket that you can save and ideally invest, whether that's in real estate or stocks or wherever it goes, to grow that money to be able to do something with it.
Yeah, I think people have to be creative, right?
Yeah.
Like my daughter, my eldest daughter, is just bought a condo with her boyfriend, and I was encouraging them to do what you did, which was buy a duplex, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they couldn't qualify for the mortgage for a duplex, so they ended up buying a condo. And thankfully I was able to gift her some money, right, towards the down payment. And her boyfriend had been living at home, and he has a great job, and his parents didn't charge him rent. So they didn't charge him rent on the basis that he was saving that money for a down payment. So they were able to buy the condo with like $40,000 down between the two of them, which is hard to do right now for most young people, right? Like that idea of having 20K each kind of thing, like people don't have that money just sitting around. And, in my gift to her was part of her future inheritance, right? Yeah. Like I'll do that for all of my kids, but they got to know that like, this isn't money that's just sitting there. Like this is like, I'm giving you the money now because you would have got it at some point, but just know that it's not going to be there for the future. Right. And I think you have to get creative in this world that we live in right now. Right.
Yeah. And I think too, as a young person or a person in general who is looking to do something like this, you also have to show up as the person who somebody wants to gift the money to, right? You have to create the good credit score, create the good credit history. If you're borrowing money from mom, make sure you're also paying mom back so that she sees that you're responsible with money,
Right?
right?
Like,
Like you
for
have to
example,
earn this.
I have no
Yeah,
problem lending her money or gifting her this money. Let's say, would I do this with my son right now? Absolutely not.
right. So he has a lot more
Right?
life lessons that he's learning
He's
right
got to
now.
learn some things and he's got to learn, like, he just got his first credit card, right? And so he's learning how to, be an adult. He's only 19. So, it's just starting out. She's 22. She's been in university, she's been managing her money really well. So I don't have a problem with it. But yeah, it's just, it's part of navigating this. And I love that you kind of bring that up. Like it is something I think for young people to consider, right? And for us as parents
Mhm.
to think about how are we setting them up for the future, right?
Yeah. Yeah, because there is a shortage of real estate globally right now, and they can
Yeah.
only build so much to catch up. So the cost of real estate, regardless of what inflation and stuff is doing, I think real estate is always just going to keep trending upwards, right? So
Yeah.
if you have an opportunity to help your kids get in the game at a younger age, that could have a huge snowball effect on what they're able to do with their money and their finances later on in life. Like you giving your daughter that opportunity at such a young age, I hope she realizes what a blessing that is to be able to buy property like she did at her age to get
Yeah.
into the
Yeah, for sure, right? And like I've said and had lots of conversations with them both about like, okay, so what's the plan, right? Like 5 years from now you're going to buy something else and rent this out kind of thing. And where they purchased is near a university and it's a 1-bedroom kind of apartment, right? So it's easily rentable.
Yep.
So I just think there's those kind of things that we can think about, right? You mentioned Jack Canfield, right? And the Success Principles, which is a book I love. I think both you and I know that, money mindset it's the foundation, right? It's everything. And unless you even believe that this is possible for you, there's no way you're going to do it. And if you have this, if someone's carrying a belief that making money is hard or it's a grind and they have to do this thing that's 9 to 5 kind of thing, it's going to be more challenging to break free from that, right?
Mhm.
What are some of the biggest limiting beliefs that you see around money, and how did you shift into a more abundant mindset as you kind of work through this for yourself?
Yeah. I think, like you brought up, the money is hard. I think that people think money is hard because and I say people and we, all as us in one big collective bucket, we think that money is scarce. We think that there is only so much money to go around. But if you
Mm-hmm.
look at any report, especially since COVID, and see just how much money the governments have printed that is now in circulation, which is also causing our inflation, money is not the limiting resource. It is
Mm-hmm.
our belief systems, like you just said. It is time. And once you can kind of wrap your head around money isn't the limited resource, money making opportunities are all around me. And yes, how do you lean into, I deserve money, I can get what I want? In that Jack Canfield exercise, the most mind blowing thing that had happened to me was when I was reading, I was doing the what do you want to be, what do you want to do, what do you want to have exercise in that book. So I filled it all out, tucked it in, and I remember it because it was such a profound moment. But it was things like, I want a specific, really nice fitted blue coat. I want to go on a trip to Cancun. I want a dream trip to, dream trip to Cancun. I want a dream wedding with my husband. I want to get a miniature schnauzer. So at this point, that was our first schnauzer. Now we're on our second and third right now. So this was before we even had our first baby schnauzer. And so I put all of these things on this list and I tucked it in this book. And to buy our first house together. So as I am packing up to buy our first house together, this list falls out. Every single thing on that list had come true. And I was like, what?
I love that.
is happening here? So I sat down with that book. I stopped packing. I'm like, like,
Right?
put the brakes on here. What just happened? Because everything I put on this list came true. And that was my first realization of like vision boards and dreaming big and on how what manifestation is and like putting out there into the universe what you want and the synchronicities that start showing up for you to say yes to what you want. Like, for
Yeah.
example, in there, when we closed on our property together that my new husband at the time and I bought, we had exactly enough money down to the dollar for me to say yes to go on the dream trip to Cancun with my sister. Like, there was so many synchronicities that I just had to keep saying yes. That blue coat, we walked by in off season. The coat was 70% off. I was like, I have to say yes to this thing. It's like pennies on the dollar right now.
Right?
So that for me was a big spark in just having that belief of, oh, I can have what I want. I just have to keep putting out there what it is that I want and taking the steps towards it. And I think the biggest question we can ask ourselves is, what do we want? Like, if you're listening, what do you want? And allow yourself to get clear, allow yourself to make lists and know that it's okay. You don't have to show anybody the list. If you want big, bold things, put the big, bold things on the list. If you want little things that feel out of reach right now, put them on there too. Nobody has to see it. Just get so intentional about what you want and believe you can have it. And then start looking for the synchronicities. Like, for those two people back in the day to give me those two separate books that completely spiraled my life into a different pivot point to where I am now, those to me are synchronicities that were showing up before I even knew they were really a thing.
Right. Yeah. Like, I love this story because I know this from my own lived experience, and the people in my world are similar to you. We all have these examples, right? And I just think it's a question I'm constantly asking myself, right? Like, what do I want? How do I want to experience my life? What do I want to have, or who do I want to be with, or how do I want to spend my time? Because it changes, right? And as we move through the different stages of life, different things become important, right? And so I think it's important to always be looking at this, right? And like, it's also a mindset that it's not finite, right? Like, we live in an abundant universe. Like you said, there's more than enough money, right? You can basically do what you want. In today's world, you can start a business now, right now, in this moment. You could just go online and say, hey, I do this thing. Want to hire me? Right? And somebody probably put up their hand and go, I need that thing. Right? So it's to me, I know there's problems in the world, but right now, I think there's so much possibility as well. And it's not all about hard work.
No,
right?
It's not about hard work. And you touched on something in there that is so important. You have to allow yourself to pivot.
Yeah.
If you put in the time at this job or the training and went through it all, and you're several years in and you decide that that job just grates on you every day, find a new job. It is okay.
Right?
If you took the training, if you got into a relationship and the relationship's no longer working, it's okay to say, I'm sorry, this is no longer working. I'm out. Right?
Totally.
You have to allow yourself those moments to pivot, because life is not linear. Like you said, we are at different seasons all the time, and it's okay to say, this is no longer working. Here's what I want to do now.
Totally. Totally. Right? Like, I spent most of my career in finance, right? And, then my core business is an accounting and bookkeeping firm. It's very well established. I have a team that basically runs it. So I can do stuff like the podcast, right? I was like, I remember talking to a friend a couple of years ago before I had the podcast. And I was like, I always wanted to be like Oprah, like interview people, right? And she was like, why don't you do that? I'm like, hey, like you need a TV show? Like, that's not. She's like, just do a podcast. I was like, what? You can do that? Right? And then I saw there's all these resources, right? Like, she gave me an idea. I ran with it. I hired somebody to help me like get started, right? Like who's the audience? What's the topics? Like narrow it down from just Michelle showing up and recording whatever, right? Like I got some professional support. There's so many resources out there that we can do these things, right? My podcast has got nothing to do with my core business, right? Um, I don't want to talk about that. I love talking about people creating their version of their rich life because to me, that's really interesting, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, you can pivot, right? You can pivot out of jobs, out of relationships, out of friendships, out of even businesses, right? Like I'm 56 this year and I'm thinking about the exit of the core business, right? And I'm thinking about the next chapter and I'm inheriting a property. I'm thinking about what can I do with that property? How could we make money on that property? Like how can I set my kids up for a better future with this inheritance, right? So I don't know anything about design or anything like that. I'll have to get some resources, but we can pivot along the way, right?
Yeah.
So I love that you mentioned that. Yeah, love that. And you mentioned the thing about your piece of paper that fell out of the book.
Mm-hmm.
I always tell people, write yourself some letters, put them in a box or whatever, and you will find them in the future. Like they'll fall out of a book or a box, or you'll go to move something. And it's a letter to yourself about what you wanted at the time. And I bet you got it.
Yeah.
Right? So good. Oh my God. I love that. I love that story. So you don't just teach people how to make money, right? You help them create a life they love, like that they actually love, which I adore. What does lifestyle design really mean? And how do you guide people to create income streams that align with their dream lifestyle?
Yeah. Lifestyle design is kind of flipping everything on the head and going back to the what do I want? Instead of shotgunning out of the school into what career do I want? Because we're young at that time. Honestly,
Mm-hmm.
most people that come shotgunning out of school, we don't actually know what we want at that age of our life.
Yeah.
So it's more about what do I want my life to look like? What elements do I want? If like some of the people I talk to, outdoors, that is like their soul just breathes and lives for the outdoors. So don't sign yourself up for a cubicle with no window, right?
Right?
Like there's just the core basics of what makes your heart tick, what makes you tick, what your compass is telling. And so it's just getting really clear. What time of day do you want to get up? Some people are morning owls or night owls. Some people are early birds. So it's going down to the basics, the essence of lifestyle. Like lifestyle, do you want to, if you have kids, do you want to be the mom that is there to pick your kids up at the beginning of or at the end of the day and drop them off at the beginning of the day? Well, then when we come down to income ideas that fit, we've only got the school hours then to fit in an income idea that you can be doing so that you're there for the kids at the beginning of the day and the end of the day. So it's really taking those core lifestyle pieces that matter to you, because we don't all have the same wants and desires, and society, they kind of cookie cutter the job world into that. And I think that by getting clear about what we really want and then helping people match up what their interests are. And it doesn't always align. Sometimes it's just finding that perfect income stream that fits into the time constraint to allow, like that example of the kid freedom. But ideally, if we can like tie in their interests and the things that really fuel them up. So there's kind of this kind of fun blend between what is play and what is work. And you're kind of just seesawing back through both. Some people only want to work seasonally. They want to take summers off, and they, in the wintertime, they just want to like nose to the grindstone. They will just do project after project so that they can have that free summertime to sit on a beach somewhere.
I love that. I love that. I just had a conversation with a listener. It's actually a guy. I think it's funny, right? Like my target audience is women, like midlife women. And this guy reaches out to me on Instagram and he's like, I was listening to whatever episode it was. And he said, and I realized that like I live in Winnipeg, which is the middle of Canada, right? And I love hiking. And like, there's no mountains near me. There's no forest. Like, what am I doing? Right. And he's like, and then I'm like, well, how can I move? And where do I move to? How do I get a job there? And he's like, I realize I don't need a job. I'll make my own business. Like, I'll just do it myself. Right. And then he's like, and then I identified where in Alberta I want to live. That's right at the base of the Rocky Mountains. And I could hike every day. And the cost of living there is okay. And like, I'm good. Right. And he's like, I was like, that is amazing. Right. Like, it starts with like this little thought of like, what do I like to do in my free time? I like hiking, and I live somewhere that I can't hike every day.
Yeah.
Right. And so why am I living here?
Yeah. And as you go through those lifestyle questions, it's so unique to all of us, but it often is those little things. You want to be able to step out for that gentleman out of his door and just to be able to easy access to hiking. Not everybody wants that, but for him, just by making a simple shift in his lifestyle, like the location of where he is living, to be able to get that can, like, the mountains of happiness that person will have if they take that shift.
Right.
Probably mind blowing.
Yeah. Like, and like what I loved about this is that it totally underscored like what I say is your version of your rich life.
Yeah.
Because it's so unique, right? For everyone. My version is not, his version is not Jen's version. Like, it's different, right? And so if that's his version, that's awesome. And the fact that he's identified that, that's great, right? And he's like, as soon as I get there next week, I'm going to send you a picture.
Oh, good.
Because this is awesome, right? And I'm like, that is fantastic. Like, and what an action taker.
Yeah.
Right? Because I think sometimes we can have awarenesses, right? Like you said, I'm an outdoorsy person and I'm sitting in a cubicle.
Mm-hmm.
But we settle, right? We tolerate that and we go, well, I guess this is just how it is. Or I went to school for this. My parents paid thousands of dollars for me to get an education in this. I should totally do this thing, right? And so we settle. And I don't think any of us should settle, right? There's no reason to.
There's no reason to. The biggest reason I think people settle is for that exact reason, that we don't want to let somebody else down.
Right.
But the person who helped us get to the position we're at is probably the same person that would be our biggest cheerleader to go and step into a life we truly feel aligned with and love. Even if like that first stopping point wasn't quite it, I'm sure they would be okay. And if not, maybe you don't need them as a cheerleader anymore. Like, we're just worried about affecting how our happiness will affect other people, when at the end of the day, the more fulfilled we can create our own lives, I see it as this intense ripple effect that goes out. When you're feeling good and feeling fulfilled, the more generous you are and the more helpful you are. That's just my experience in this world.
I love it. I love it. So a lot of our listeners probably feel stuck in some place in their life, right? Whether that's in their 9-to-5 job, or maybe in a business that they don't want to be in anymore, or a relationship, or even just a life situation that doesn't feel good, right? So like, it doesn't have to be a thing. It could be like, oh, I've got an empty nest now and I don't know what to do with myself, right? And they might want to make a change, but they could feel terrified to take the leap. I hear this all the time, right? Like, I want to do this, but I'm so freaking scared.
Yeah.
What's your best advice for someone who's scared but ready, right? Someone who wants more freedom but doesn't know where to start. Like, what's your go-to advice for that?
I would say just to journal it out. First, just get a pen and paper and journal it out and ask in there, what is the worst thing that can happen?
Oh, so
and
good.
Oftentimes, it'll just be staying doing what you're doing, because you'll start looking at the flip side of that. Like, what is the best thing that could happen? Or just even getting curious of, oh, now I have the space to be able to do this thing. What could that look like for me? And just allowing yourself to dream big on there. And oftentimes you'll find that staying where you are is almost your worst case when you look at the possibilities that you have to stack against it. So yeah,
I
just
love that.
checking in with yourself. It doesn't cost anything, literally.
Yeah, totally, right?
And that's where the answers seem to come.
You're a girl after my own heart because I am a journaler. It's my therapy. It's how I process things. It's how I work through my emotional response to things, and I just find it to be such a helpful tool.
Yeah.
Right. So I love that. So I got one final question for you. This is like bonus. If you could go back and give your younger self one piece of money advice, what would it be, Jen?
Oh, piece of money advice. I would say out of the gate, find somebody who I really, really trusted that was doing things with money. My parents are very secure, stable, go to work, get the pension people. So that's where I learned that piece of it from. But then once I branched away from that, it took me a while to find somebody I truly trusted. And I did get talked into a few investments that were in the best interest of the salesperson selling them to me, where I really should have found somebody who I had that relationship with, and or at least felt like they had my best interests at heart, that were able to guide me through things. I eventually found that person and it was amazing. And they helped a lot of like money conversations along the way. I just wish I would have been more discerning out of the gate to actively seek out someone who could be kind of a money mentor in a sense.
Oh, so good. Money mentor. Find a money mentor.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Oh my God. Thank you so much for joining me today on the podcast. I think this is such an important conversation, and you have a unique take on this and a great lived experience to inspire and share, with the world. If people want to kind of follow you online and stuff, like we'll put all your contact details in the show notes, but where do you like to hang out on social media?
On social media, I am typically on Instagram and just under my podcast name, the Manifestation and Money Podcast.
Yay, so good. Awesome. Okay, thank you so much, Jen. I really appreciate you taking this time, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you for this conversation, Michelle.
Wow, what an episode. Jenni just showed us that wealth, freedom, and a life you actually love are all totally possible. If today's conversation inspired you to rethink your career, your money mindset, or your lifestyle goals, I'd love to hear about it. Tag me on Instagram at Michelle B. Cooper and let me know your biggest takeaway. And don't forget, you can find Jenni over on Instagram at Manifestation and Money Podcast, where she shares more game-changing insights on money, manifestation, and designing a life that feels good. If you love this episode, please take a moment to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a friend who needs to hear this. Your support means the world and helps us bring more incredible guests like Jenni to the show. Until next time, keep building your version of your rich life. Thanks for hanging out with me. I hope you got at least one gold nugget today. Be sure to grab your copy of the Rich Life Revolution workbook to help you set the foundation for your next level of wealthy. Get it now at richliferevolution.ca, and I'll see you later.